What is up everyone, welcome back to another top 10 video where this time we're going to be diving into the best plays from the second week of competition in Stage 3. Now simply put, this was undeniably one of the most wild weeks since the Overwatch League commenced. We saw huge upsets as Boston stepped up to become only the third team to ever emerge victorious from a series with NYXL. The LA Valiant remain atop the overall rankings without a single series lost to their name thus far in Stage 3. But even that barely begins to describe just how crazy the action really was throughout every series this week. It honestly felt as though there was at least one 3K highlight from every single map. Just in the final series of the week alone, there were 3 maps with consecutive 3K ultimates. It was just absurd from start to finish this week, and we're here to run you through the best of the best. So with that, let's jump right into things with the play coming in at number 10. Opening the list this week, we have a tremendous transcendence coming out from Shaz as the LA Gladiators did battle with the Seoul Dynasty. Having just called in a fresh mech, Wekid's Riptire instantaneously depletes Bishu's HP once again. Seriously, just look at how low his health gets as we slow it down frame by frame. Had to have been less than 10 health remaining, and Shaz recognizes the danger immediately, activating his transcendence and coming in clutch to save the day. It was an even team fight, however the Gladiators soon rolled through point A thanks to some swift eliminations from none other than Bishu and Shaz. An excellent display of timing and communication to kick things off here this week. In at number 9 this week, we have a pivotal ult coming out from Mano as NYXL refused to fall on one of their most dominant maps in Ilios. As the penultimate engagement starts, we can already see Mano focusing down the supports, rapidly taking down Kelix, who was just a few seconds away from Valkyrie, then moving straight onto Neko and swatting him off the map just as he acquires his transcendence. He rushes back to the point to help clear things up as Boston attempts to reset as soon as possible. However, their efforts are for naught as they narrowly fail to make it back onto the point in time. A huge play from Mano that negated 2 of the most crucial ults in the closing moments on Ilios.
Mano finds it, gonna go primal range immediately, and he's gonna send Neko flying. Goodbye.
Coming in at number 8, we have a short play, but a sweet one at that. Something we don't see all too often on these lists is individual picks. Regardless of how flashy an individual kill may be, it always tends to slip down these lists as momentum shifting ultimates take their place instead. This play, however, simply could not be excluded, and if you watched the games this week, I'm sure you already know what I'm referring to. Performing like an entirely new team thanks to their latest signees, LA Valiant put on a show when sweeping their series against the San Francisco Shock. In this particular instance on Blizzard World, we notice that Soon can hear an enemy nearby. He can't tell exactly where, but he has scouted out that there is a lurker nonetheless. Before long, he drops down and freakishly snaps onto Sinatra. One of the most difficult picks for a Widowmaker is a Tracer, let alone a Tracer at close range. Soon takes matters into his own hands and shuts down the new San Francisco starter with ease.
Trying to find the pick. Oh, what? Wow. Sinatra. Talk about reactions.
In at number 7, we have a classic Stage 1 highlight coming back into the fray as Poco launches a picture-perfect Diva Bomb into the London Spitfire. Nerf Poco is definitely the most apt response to this play as he cleanly angles the ultimate in such a way as for it to not detonate until just a fraction of a second before it hits the ground.
Oh my god, Poco! It's been a while since we've seen a Poco self-destruct that delivers on that level.
It could not have been positioned any better as it evenly splits the remaining members of the Spitfire, leaving them with nowhere to hide from the blast. This is just the beginning of the many multi-kill highlights featured on the list this week. Coming in at number 6 to continue the trend is none other than Big Boss Pine. In only his second appearance on Blizzard World, he starts out this tremendous play with an effortless snipe onto Jake's Riptire. Flanking around with his Infrasight active, he takes down Jake, Linksa, and Raucus in one smooth motion. It's honestly insane what this man is able to do when flanking by himself. No other Widowmakers in the league are quite as audacious as Pine, as he goes on to help his team secure the map win and eventually take the series over the Outlaws.
He's got 2! Links has been felled! Raucus is the 3rd! The big flake from Pine and no one doesn't like him!
Moving on to the play in our 5th spot, we have yet another sniping showcase, however this time from the new breakout star on the Florida Mayhem roster, Sire Player. Starting out the final push onto point A, the tanks of the Mayhem distract to the right of the point, whilst the damage boosted Sire Player goes to work on the left. Opening with a quick kill onto Birdring, Sire Player grapples up and deletes the London Spitfire supports before they even have a chance to react. Sure, he's eventually swatted off of the map, but his efforts proved fruitful nonetheless as he opened up the point for the rest of his team. The replay speaks volumes as to just how fast he was really able to destabilize the London defense.
The shot on averting that is so filthy there.
In at number 4 this week we have Jake reasserting himself as the most dominant Junkrat in the league. Tied up in their series against NYXL, New York rushed to capture the point on this first phase of Nepal and have Libero set up shop on the Bastion. A tough composition to break through, especially for Houston's current lineup. However, Jake soon activates his tire from directly above the point, sending it overhead of New York and causing a colossal wreck on the point as he wipes out 3 and gets the D-suit on Meko, which in turn enables Lynx's Deadeye. A wild chain of events as Jake underscores the motif of this week's video. Multi-kills for everyone.
It's gonna be a ring tire here from Jake. Oh, a big tire there from Jake. There's nothing you can do about that.
In the number 3 we have Mistakes stepping up big time to fill the DPS void in the Boston lineup, and if you're the Uprising coaches lately, you really couldn't ask for much more. As a player who was mostly stuck to the bench for the better part of the first 2 stages, Mistakes has shown nothing but excellence since starting out for Boston here in Stage 3, helping his team rise to the top of the stage standings without dropping a series thus far. Now there was quite a number of exceptional highlights from Mistakes this week, however this play in particular is worthy of highlight over the rest simply due to how monumental it really was. When you look at the numbers, Boston became only the 3rd team to defeat the best team in the league throughout the regular season, handing NYXL their first taste of defeat in Stage 3. Mistakes swapped between 5 different heroes this series, however he closed things out with Sombra on Oasis. Making his first move, whilst it may not look like much, his presence next to Jonak and the threat of a potential hack was enough to force out the Transcendence from the best Sinatra in the league, perhaps not gaining as much value from the crucial ult as NYXL would have preferred. Mistakes moves into the middle of the battle, activating his EMP and helping clean up the fight on the objective. Who would have thought that Boston would be able to take down NYXL given their shaky performance throughout Stage 2, let alone with Mistakes leading the charge? Incredible showing from him all week as Boston continue to thrive. In our second spot this week, while San Francisco have looked a little inconsistent lately, this play from Sinatra was perhaps the shift in momentum they need to readjust moving forward. With the point falling in favour of the Valiant, and as the outcome of the series hangs in the balance, Sinatra makes an interesting decision when swapping over to the Doomfist from the Tracer. A great hero that can definitely do damage in the confines of the point on Oasis, but would he even be able to make it back in time? Thanks to some incredible ult management from the rest of his team, a great stalling effort enables Sinatra to come in and get to work. He slams straight into the point and immediately boops Fate off of the map. He charges Space into the wall behind to get the DMAC before juking it out with agilities for a few moments. Thanks to great support from Sleepy, he stays on his feet, eventually picking off agilities and actually charging his Meteor Strike, which of course he puts to good use as well, taking out Custer and soon shortly after in a monumental effort to retake the point for his team. And finally, in the top spot this week, we had to shine the light on LA Valiant's latest pickup in Bunny. He is making it absolutely clear that the Seoul Dynasty made a crucial error in trading him away. He played a major role throughout all of Valiant's success this week, constantly positioning himself in unexpected areas, being a persistent thorn in the side of all supports he encountered, and just generally maximizing his efficiency on stage. The specific play in focus comes from not only his very first series on stage with his new teammates, but from the very first map where somehow he managed to attain a 20+ player kill streak. Typically you would think it might take some time for players to acclimate and get used to the playstyles of others on their new team, however despite the limited practice, Bunny proved largely beneficial from the jump, pulling out all the stops on his first visit to Volskaya Industries donning the green and gold. Entirely outclassing the opposition in one of the most dominant showings to date, Bunny went on an absolute rampage, attaining a kill streak of 20 in the process. As a matter of fact, he only died once throughout the entire map. That's pretty spectacular regardless of the context, but when you consider the map, keep in mind that supports can't exactly follow Tracer around outside of the point when on defense, so he was mostly alone throughout his efforts, which is just astonishing. And just to go ahead and give us a sense of closure with the theme of this week's highlights, of course he went ahead and did this to the Dallas Fuel in his second series with the Valiant. An incredible showing from the brightest star this week as his efforts helped cement the Valiant atop the Stage 3 standings. So that's our list for the second week of Stage 3, a particularly wild week to be sure. Do feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below, let us know what plays you think should have been on the list instead. As always, thanks for tuning in and I'll see you in the next one.